And again, welcome Jack Mahoney, who is our ministry intern for 2020, 2021, the next 9 months, coming from Yale Divinity School. Grew up in Granby, Connecticut, just north of Simsbury, where I pastored for 5 years, although we did not meet at the time. And we are so glad to have him with us. I would love to just pick up on this last question about what you're up to right now. If you would be willing, Jack, just to describe a little bit of what your year looks like at the seminary and beyond the seminary, how that's looking for you as a third year, right, Master of Divinity student.
Yep. Yeah, I guess this year is just kind of finishing everything out, getting the most out of my educational experience as I can in like a formal sense before continuing that educational experience on into the working world. But yeah, I'm currently in the Andover Newton Theological Seminary at Yale program, as well as the Divinity School program that you have to complete. And I'm also working with the ELM certificate, I think is what they call it, which is Education, Leadership, and Ministry. And so I'm kind of finding a way in the next couple of months to just finish out all of those things. And this semester I'm taking New Testament Greek, preaching course, a New Testament class on the Gospels, supervised ministry, and what's the last one? Oh yeah, early Christian history, and then a colloquium class on Bible study, how to lead a Bible study.
So one of those classes happens during our own Saugatuck Church Bible study, so he will not join us, which we're bummed out about, but we will create another space to do maybe some Bible together as the year unfolds. And Jack will be preaching in Advent in December. He's had some time with us and in his class. Have that to look forward to. What are you doing when you're not in seminary? What is all your time?
I mean, that's definitely a fair amount of time.
It's good.
I would say for right now, my process with the last year is, as I said, kind of like tying everything together. And so there's the work that I'm doing for school, and then on the outside I do like a landscaping gig that I've had for a few years. I've had a lot of different odd jobs in and around New Haven, but with the economic downturn and everything, some of those jobs just don't quite exist anymore. But I'm very grateful to have kept some of my outdoor working jobs. And so, yeah, I mean, I do that when I can, maybe like once or twice a week. And then I am currently in the process of finalizing my application to the Navy's chaplain candidacy program. And that will hopefully wrap up over the next month. I'll go before the Navy Board of Chaplains sometime in October, and then I'll hear back about whatever those next steps are, leading towards hopefully doing basic training this coming summer. And then the other kind of, there's church, military, and then, school, military, and then the church. For the UCC, I am obviously in the ordination track towards ministry, being ordained. And so I have supervised ministry and then my ordination paper as my last two things before I go before the ecclesiastical council and go through those final steps towards ordination.
Are you in care in Granby?
No, I am in care in Spring Glen in Milford, yeah. Or Milford? No.
Yeah, that's Jack Davidson's church, isn't it?
Yep. Yes, it is.
We have a lot of YDS students that ended up over in
right.
Spring Glen. It being right down the street. I think we all kind of wandered over there, heard good things, and it's a fairly short commute for us to be able to see Jack.
Great.
Well, Jack was ordained here in Fairfield County. I don't know if you knew that.
He grew up here, right?
Yeah, he grew up
In
in Greenwich, and
Yeah.
that's where he was ordained.
Yeah, the UCC is a small world.
Oh yeah.
Especially in New England.
Yes, yes, it is.
Jack, do you have to join the Navy after you finish school?
That's been kind of my driving goal. The thing that kind of set me on this path, I guess at this point, about 5 years ago. I have a lot of family in the military, and I had wanted to join the military and had kind of gone various different routes earlier on in my life. And then I ended up going in a lot of different other directions before actually becoming a boarding school teacher for a while. I was a middle school boarding school teacher, taught art and tutored French, and was a coach, lived in the dorm, did all those things. But still kind of had this, the call, for lack of a better word, of that, that little voice in the back that's kind of like, hey, pay attention to me. When it comes to faith and when it came to serving in the military. And so started asking a lot of questions, started reconnecting with old ministers, and found out about military chaplaincy, and then just it kind of clicked. And I just started asking a lot of questions, meeting with a lot of different people, and ended up here.
There you are. It is a journey, isn't it? It comes in pieces. Yeah. Those little angels give you little messages along the way.
Exactly. Definitely was not a straight shot. That was one of those weird Curtly Q windy roads that didn't make a lot of sense. But you're like, oh, okay, cool. Now I know what I'm doing.
Right. Well, and we'll continue to curl around like that, right?
Yeah.
But to Anne's point, it is a journey. I wonder if there's something from along that journey, just one of the things that contributed to your thinking about seminary and chaplaincy, something that inspired that, or what's the nature of one of those little voices that you heard on your shoulder?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few poignant moments. I guess to speak to what Joan was talking about earlier, when I was living in Ireland, I had been kind of bouncing around a lot. I ended up going to about 4 different colleges before I ended up just kind of pooling all my credits back into one so I could graduate. And I didn't necessarily really know what I was doing. I had been trying to join the military. I had been going to art school, just like a shotgun blast of random stuff. But I ended up living and working in a really small town in the middle of nowhere, Ireland, called Macroom. And I was just waking up every day and rebuilding castle walls from the 1600s.
Wow.
Just moving rocks and just doing it. I mean, it was probably the closest I've had to like a monastic experience. And on the weekends, I would be allowed to kind of like explore out, go hitchhiking, get on a bike, do whatever you're going to do. And I ended up going most weekends to this place called the Guggenbara Valley. It's this tiny little chapel on this little spit of land in the middle of this big lake. And it was I guess just an ancient site for a lot of the monks that used to live in Ireland, and they still have their kind of cells that were carved into the rock there. And I was just, it kind of stuck with me, and I ended up traveling back there most weekends to just kind of spend some time, be in nature while also being with a chapel at the same time, walking around the premises and talking with God. And it's just a really kind of a nugget that stayed with me and helped me, push me a little bit more in this direction as I slowly figured things out.
Jack, are you familiar with the Celtic idea of a thin place?
No.
So Mary Ellen is smiling over with Michael Hendricks. Mary Ellen is a photographer and artist, And she has had for almost the whole 8 years that I've been here, undertaken an art project where she has photographed places for her Thin Places project, inspired by the Celtic idea that earth and heaven, what was the quote, Michael, that you just quoted this week, that earth and heaven is always only.
Heaven and earth in any given place is 3 feet apart, but in the thin places, the distance is tissue thin.
There you go.
So there are places in the world where that meeting of heaven and earth and kind of sacred places. And so, yeah, I've been documenting. And then after learning about it, I started asking people I knew if they had a thin place, a personal thin place locally. And often they would, and then I would document them with photographs and interview them. And actually, Alison, I documented her thin place. And so, yeah, it's been wonderful. So, and now during COVID, because I can't really meet with people, I've been doing, I think I'm at day like 71. Every day I post a new photograph, and not every day, but close to every day, I go out and I photograph somewhere nearby, or, you know, my radius has gotten a little bit bigger because I can drive, but yeah, it's been and posting a quote with it. Actually, Michael finds me the quote, but yeah, it's been really cool. And I muted when you were talking just then, and I said to Michael, I want to go there. So Alison read my mind.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. Once you put on the lens, right, to look for those kinds of spaces, that they pop up all over. So thank you for sharing that part of your story, Jack. I wonder what you're hoping for, one or two things that you're hoping for from the coming year, particularly with Saugatuck Church.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I'll admit that last year I worked in the Connecticut VA hospital as a chaplain, and that was an amazing experience. And I do love chaplaincy, and I love working with people one-on-one and working in some of those small groups. And that is definitely, I don't know, what I would kind of consider more of a comfort zone, whereas I don't know, working on a larger scale and, you know, being a part of a community, being like a leader in the community or of some sort, being someone that's kind of up in front of large groups of people is not necessarily a place where I find myself often, because I choose not to be there. So this is, I don't know, kind of one of those last very important steps to, I don't know, kind of find my voice and step into that, I don't know, that really, I have a lot of respect for the position, and respect and fear sometimes maybe integrate a little bit into those things, because, you know, to see someone like, you know, Alison, someone like Jack David Peterson up in Spring Glen, to see people who know how to walk with the community is just an absolutely amazing and just awe-inspiring thing. And so, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to just seeing what that takes, and to not only walk with, you know, individuals as I meet them, but to have the opportunity to learn what it means to kind of bring all of myself into another place and just kind of have it come together in a, I don't know, hopefully grace-filled and no, just a beautiful opportunity to be in community with other people and to be on this journey of faith.
Whatever unfolds, I trust that it will be grace-filled.
Yeah.
I love that. For those who have joined us during this conversation, just a note that we are recording this morning so that we can share this conversation on YouTube with those who couldn't be here in person. Some of you have already chimed in with questions for Jack, and I invited Jack to come with questions he might like to pose to all of you, because that seemed only fair. So I'm going to check in and see if Jack has a question he'd like to pose to you all while you're thinking about whether you have other questions for him. And I can see everybody, so if you want to raise a hand, an actual hand, you can also raise a virtual hand if you'd like to ask something. But I'm going to just offer it to Jack first. Jack, is there something you'd like to?
Sure. I guess I, just pose the question that I think has been the question on most congregations' minds for the past few months, as we all kind of figure out what it means to do church in a very challenging and strange time. What have you missed most? And then what has been the most pleasant surprise when it's come to your time in church and your worship experience and your experience of community with Saugatuck?
See. Well, while everybody's thinking, I'll say what I miss most is being with the other members of the church. And it was particularly nice today in the outdoor chapel to have as many people, including kids, as we had. So that felt really good. And I heard a fair number of people express that very thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I have been surprised by, we happen to have a vacation home in the Berkshires, and we have a church up there, and as well as Saugatuck, where we've been members for ages. And I love being able to go to both churches every week. and we'll do one first one week and one first the other week. And I've really enjoyed the Zoom coffee hour because I can hear people.
Yeah.
and actually hear quite a few different people, which has been a joy. And it's been fun to see former members join us from Massachusetts or Illinois or wherever, or people who were in Florida during the winter who could be with us. So there was a plus, but it'll be nice to be back together.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah. I mean, I've
liked the surprise. I love surprises, and I've liked the surprise of the forest.
Yeah.
I think for many of us, the forest has become another of Mary Ellen's thin places, a surprising place. And we've just been there and sitting there. It's been very beautiful.
Amen.
And I want to say to that same comment that it's like we've stripped away this. I mean, I'm a Roman Catholic, so I've been to all kinds of cathedrals and all kinds of churches, but we've stripped away even the simplicity of congregational church in the beautiful white house with simple glass windows that you can look out and see nature. And for a while, we were in the Memorial Garden. And that's kind of like a groomed, place where you make sure the grass is so high. But now to move into the woods in this incredible place where it's so like a cathedral, when you look up and you see all of the yes, exactly, all the branches and the trees engulfing us as we pray. So to me, too bad we can't do this in the winter, but it's certainly wonderful to do it all during this time, and it's an incredible place. And I've encouraged and listened to people who go to different churches and said, oh, you've got to come to ours. We're in the woods.
Love it.
Thank you, Toby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Toby and all of those who worked with him, so my son Toby helped to create that space as an Eagle Scout project. But since then, Catherine Ross and Rebecca Ross have been caring for the space and actually expanded the circle and added some wood chips and brought flowers. So gratitude to those among us who are helping to make that space what it is.
Yeah.
Others want to share what you are missing and where you've been pleasantly surprised? And Cynthia, I muted you while you stepped away, so if you have something to share, you'll just need to unmute. I apologize. I can't give you, so you need to unmute.
I'll talk. Not that I ever hesitate particularly, but anyway, I think the thing I missed was even though it's 6 feet distance, the contact with people. I love hugs. I love shaking hands. Having lived in Europe, everybody shakes hands, and then I moved to Japan and nobody shakes hands. They nod and bow, you know. So I'm kind of super conscious of the physical contact, and it just still is very strange not to have any of that. But even with 6 feet distant and on masks, having people like this morning, this was just wonderful. Willie and I were talking, you know, all summer long. It was a couple of people here and there and a few more, you know, would drift in and so forth and so on. But I do agree with Mary Ellen about the thin places, and that chapel certainly is one of them. So that has been a really good gift. I go to a 12-step meeting in a cemetery in Fairfield on Saturday afternoons. That is the most glorious, sitting out like we do in the chapel with the trees up above, making a canopy and shading us in the heat of the summer. It's a whole nother dimension of church spirituality, love. I don't know. It's just so lovely and so special and so quiet and so just filling. It's emotionally filling to sit out there under the trees and enjoy. And I know when it gets cold, we're going to have to be very creative. But I'm just surprised, I guess, at the peace and calm in this crazy world we're living in right now, to be so present and so available any place. I mean, we can sit on the front lawn at Saugatuck and watch the cars go by and probably feel the same way, you know. But I mean, it's very much present now, as Michael was saying this morning. Now, it's here. So that's lovely. I really am thrilled with it.
Now, the social scientists will tell us, right, that being outdoors is good for our soul.
Yeah.
And we're remembering that these days.
It was nice to have Heather out there today too.
Oh, the music, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having music again, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll say that the thing that kind of hard for me to even hear myself say this, but I really missed the youth mission trip this year. Hard for me to say this because I don't sleep on them, and every year I complain about not sleeping. But I wish I had a week of not sleeping. It's something. It's something that creates a bond in the group, and it's a challenge because right now we have a group that has no centering experience to bring them together, and we've got to create that now. And I'm not sure how we'll do it, but you know, we'll try. You know, that's been interesting. But
Cynthia, and then I'll go back to Mary Ellen. I think. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I did appreciate the group that we formed with Anne and Gail. that was something that was new, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do the next one, but it was really wonderful. And I echo everything that Anne said about the outdoor chapel. It's fantastic. I didn't have a chance just quickly to say this, but Jack was talking about, I came in late, I'm sorry, but this is the spiral, the symbol of the triple spiral. That's probably the most powerful representation of the sacred heritage. And this was in Newgrange, in Sligo in Ireland. And I just wanted to get that in because it was a memorable, memorable visit. So anyway.
Mary Ellen, you started to speak up.
Well, I also so agree with what Anne said, and you know, just having it in the, you know, in the forest is so wonderful. And I'm really getting inspired. I'm going to go there with my huge antique cameras and document it. But aside from that, something I was surprised by was in the beginning of the pandemic, when it was over Zoom, Alison, your sermons, your reflections and sermons were so incredibly moving and beautiful and powerful. And I think especially then when we were all feeling so scared and so overwhelmed, and so that meant so much. And so I wanted to raise that up. Thank you.
Continue to respond to those two questions, but Jack, did you have anything else you wanted to ask? And I'm going to ask everyone else if they want to ask you anything else.
Well, I guess, I know this is maybe opening up a can of worms that I probably shouldn't do so early in my
Oh, go ahead.
But I don't know, I talked with Alison earlier about, you know, she had mentioned that it had been a while since you had all had an intern, and it's been amazing to hear so much of what your community is doing to take care of each other, what your congregation is doing to kind of have that, you know, sense of presence that we're all struggling to try and figure out how to manifest in this time. And so I don't know, I'm open to any ideas, but I was just wondering, as, you know, a new person coming in, if there are any areas. I know that I've got my things that I'm passionate about, that I am talking with Rev Patton about trying to get involved with the community, but I don't know if there are any areas in which I can be useful. I guess I just wanted to kind of float it out there. And I don't know, just ask, you know, if you've got an intern. I know that there's like the old adage of like, they get abused, but I'm open to it. What do you need?
What do you need?
Mary Ellen.
Well, I'm really excited by the fact that you're an artist and you went to art school. And I think that between Dana and Catherine, and, you know, we're so excited. Like, we're definitely going to take advantage of that. And I just love everything you said. It's fascinating, and I feel so blessed to have you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Have we mentioned our arts and ministry team?
I've heard rumors. I've heard lots.
That's a thing, and Mary Ellen is part of it. Anybody else here? I think she's our primary representative, along with Catherine, whom you've met in the Green Glade. Others? Collie.
How did Jack come to Saugatuck? Is this something that YDS figures out, or do you request something, or do you? How does this?
I prayed to God, and he showed up in my office.
God or Jack?
Jack, you want to just describe the process a little bit from your perspective?
Sure. To be honest, I didn't really know quite where to go. And this was one of those things where I was just not quite sure what to do. And so my advisor is Sarah Drummond, who's the dean of Andover Newton Theological Seminary, and
who guest preached here last.
Yeah.
yeah. And so I talked with her. I met with a few other people that had churches who I had, talked with, spoken with, gone to services there, gotten to know the ministers. And yeah, I mean, I was just trying to, I don't know, I'd really just find any place that was a home where I could kind of go and, I don't know, have a community that would help kind of just foster the very small steps that I'm taking in this very, first phase of formal training in ministry. And I just had a whole bunch of people recommend this place. A whole bunch of people recommend Saugatuck as somewhere to go, a place with a great leadership team that was great at, fostering some of those great ideas, and just a kind and welcoming community that would be, I don't know, there to, just be a great partner in this walk.
See how he's buttering us up like that?
Yeah, I got high expectations.
So
I got the brass ring.
Yeah, practically speaking, Holly, we do, we as a church communicate with Yale Divinity School that we have interest in being a site to host a ministry student. And the process has shifted and changed in recent years. And we were hopeful this year of finding an intern as Andover Newton has settled at Yale, so that there are more United Church of Christ students. In recent years, there are fewer interns than there are churches who have offered to host an intern, generally speaking. But that's changed a little bit with Andover Newton coming and moving in with Yale. So I just reached out and said we would love to host somebody, and I think Sarah Drummond may have been one of those who did a little bit of matchmaking when I waved a hand in the air, and I honestly don't remember if Jack reached out to me first.
Yeah, I think I emailed you and just kind of like, hello.
And so then I did a little dance around my office, and then I answered the email and invited him to have a conversation with me on Zoom, and that's where we went from there. Bob, were you waving a hand?
Yeah, I joined a little late this morning. I don't know if it was asked, but Jack, have you spoken with Thomas?
With Thomas, have you met Thomas Burke?
Thomas Burke.
The previous, yes, I have met him.
Yeah, because Thomas has, first of all, he could tell you all our secrets. And of course, he has the military background. And he's a great guy. He used to come on our men's retreats with us. We love Thomas. And his dirty little secret is he's the youth minister at Northfield Church. And they think he's brilliant because he copies everything Dana does. He steals everything and uses it up there.
That's how Thomas describes it himself. So
yeah, he said that.
He's very gracious.
Other thing, there are two others. Linda Bruce. Has Jack met Linda?
Probably
Linda
not.
Bruce is a member in discernment, but she's also a hospital chaplain.
Oh, okay.
She works in Westchester.
Yep. And Yale graduate, YDS graduate.
Right, and she'd be interesting for you to speak with, because that's her full-time work now. And then the third thing, and I'm a delegate, is we're members of the Council of Churches of Greater Bridgeport. Reverend Cass Shaw is in charge. In fact, there's a meeting coming up, a delegates meeting coming up, I think this week. But it's a place where we can do further good work. And at some point you might, I should introduce you to people or get to know them, because it's a great group of churches all over Westchester. I mean, all over Fairfield County, principally around Bridgeport, but all other counties, Fairfield, all over.
Yeah, thank you.
You have other ideas, given your various roles in church, places where you'd like to invite Jack to join you, like that. I love that. You drop us an email, and it really is a part of Jack's experience is just getting a sense of how the congregation operates. And how we live out our sense of purpose as a congregation, and so what some of the inner workings are that make that possible.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to chime in about either of the first two questions, or something that you think we need from an intern this year? And do you have any, I have a couple of things I'm going to let you know that are upcoming, but do you have any other questions for Jack that have bubbled up as we've been talking? Cynthia, you turned your camera around, so we're looking at
I'm seeing her plate.
Happened, I've done something wrong. So just,
you just flipped your camera, so
There you go.
Now you're back.
okay, sorry.
That's okay. I thought maybe it was a subtle way of inviting us all to lunch.
But it was an empty plate.
No, in
Well,
fact, I have to leave for lunch very soon.
Gotcha.
So-
Any other questions that have bubbled up, or comments for Jack? Here's what I do know. I'm going to say a couple of things, and if something bubbles up that you want to share in the last couple of minutes, please just wave a hand, and I want to make sure you all get your voices in. Jack mentioned that he spent time at the VA and how much he enjoys pastoral care, and we look forward to having him connect with all of you, both so that he gets a chance to know a little bit more members of our congregation, and also so he can extend the ways that I and the deacons and all of us work to stay in touch with each other, particularly right now. So you may get a phone call from Jack or an email inviting a conversation. Please say yes. And take advantage of Jack's being here. He is, I've already learned, a thoughtful conversation partner and a deep listener, and I know you will enjoy the time. He mentioned the landscaping that he does on the side, and much like Mary Ellen perked up when she heard that he has a background at art school, we all perked up at his the work he's done outside. Given how much of this conversation has been devoted to the outdoor chapel and how much being outside together right now feeds our spirits, we're trying to pay attention to that, right? That is something we can do. We can be outside together and do it in ways that are safe. So we are planning perhaps as soon as this coming weekend, although we need to coordinate with Jack's schedule, gathering of the Dirt Ministry at Saugatuck Church, which is coordinated by Andrea Cross, to do a little care of our own grounds, some fall tending to the gardens around Saugatuck Church, and Jack has offered to be a part of that. So stay tuned for details. You can come out and get your hands in the dirt a little bit and hang out with Jack. So what's not to like? And then in October, I think that we're settling on October 11th, tentatively, for our fall river cleanup. Many of you know that we've participated most years in a statewide river cleanup, and Jack has offered to help us organize our participation in that this year. I think the tides look about right the weekend of the 10th and 11th, so maybe right after church on Sunday we could go out and do some cleanup around the Sound or along one of the riverways. We'll decide what site to use this week, so stay tuned for that. And of course, you will continue to see Jack in worship. He'll take on different roles along the way, and we're trusting that other things are going to bubble up that we haven't thought of yet. So all of that is ahead for Jack and Saugatuck Church. I'm going to take a breath in these last couple of minutes and ask Jack if there's anything else you want to ask the group or say to the group as we wrap up our conversation.
I mean, thank you more than anything for, I don't know, just offering this incredible opportunity to come and be a part of this and to be another, I don't know, just the way I kind of refer to it is, God has sent me many angels in my life. And so this is another one of those opportunities to take another step forward on this very circuitous journey. So yeah, just thank you. Thank you.
That's good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We're glad you'll come to play with us.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you for saying yes. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We're trying to find this balance between time in person and time online. And I know that means that for some of you, you were outdoors in the woods and then ran home to get on your computer. So thanks for doing that and for creating this space to welcome Jack. We'll share this conversation and there will be others. But for now, the sun is shining. And so at least we're all shining. And so I wish you a blessing on your day. Go out and soak up a little bit of that sunshine. If you would like a chance to just talk with Jack one-on-one, please drop me a note. We'll find a way to also communicate Jack's email directly. In fact, I can put it in the chat right now. Jack, remind me what your email is.
Jack.mahoney@yale.edu.
It's easy.
Yeah. Mahoney is M-A honey.
Okay.
At
At Yale.edu.
On the chat. Yeah.
And I put it in the chat for those of you who can see your chat. So feel free to drop him a line and say hello. Reach out to him. The garden is a great place for a physically distant but friendly conversation. Bring your chairs and set up. He is going to be on site on Tuesdays and on Sundays for worship, and then when we have something going on. So we will talk more about that. All right, my friends, it is 12:30.
Okay.
And so holding you all in prayer and wishing you blessings on your day, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
And
Thanks,
be well.
Allison.
God bless.
Go in peace.
Thank you, Michael, for the sermon.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All right. Take care, all.